like to play cards, and I play cards whenever I can, and I love to win. I don't like to lose. Marcy and I play cards with Diane and Amy all the time, and Amy is my card-playing partner. And a couple of weeks ago, when we were in a real losing streak, I blurted out, "We're all in for 2019. And she goes, "Yeah, we are. We're all in for 2019. And that was really weird because we don't play poker. We play something else. And I started thinking about that phrase, "we're all in." And I started thinking about the two words, "all in," which have changed in meaning over the last several years. Originally, all in meant I'm done. I'm exhausted, I'm worn out, I'm spent. I ran that race and I was all in by the time I crossed the finish line. In any card game involving poker chips, a player tends to go all in with one single act of bravado or recklessness or desperation and sacrifice all of their remaining chips for one last-ditch effort and hope of winning something or losing it all in one single hand. But now, the words "all in" have become a mantra for being committed to an effort. I'm all in. I'm not holding anything back. I'm all in. I'm jumping in with both feet. I'm thinking about doing this, but I'm really all in. I'm not thinking about it anymore. I am all in for this person, for this job, for this place, for this cause. So I think when we focus on and consider the phrase "all in" with this meaning of I'm fully in, what we're really talking about is commitment. When we commit to something, a program, a habit, a thought, a belief, a person, we have to work at it. We have to maintain it. Now, you remember my favorite Japanese proverb, "Everything is beautiful in the beginning." And then it's the second day of your diet, and you still haven't lost 20 pounds yet. What is that? Doing that new exercise and eating regimen is great at first, but 3 months in, it's boring. And we aren't all in anymore. It's just too hard. I happen to believe that our culture doesn't help us with that sticking to it part. Our culture has reinforced many, many bad habits for us. Habits that allow us to give ourselves permission to stop anything that doesn't feel good anymore or doesn't feel right any longer. I think if we're honest, we all would admit to having some difficulty with following through on our commitments and promises that we make to ourselves and to each other. We have a hard time going all in and staying all in. So let's take a minute and talk about what keeps us from going all in, from jumping in completely with both feet. Are we too passive? Are we too tired? Are we hesitant to commit to anything? Jesus tells the following parable in the book of Matthew. A man had 2 sons. He went up to the first and said, "Son, go out for the day and work in the vineyard." The son answered, "I don't want to." Later on, he thought better of it and went. The father gave the same command to the second son. The son answered, "Sure, glad to," but he never went. Jesus then asks the question, which of the 2 sons did what the father asked? Well, I have to say both of those kids don't win any awards. The first one, who said, "I don't want to," was initially kind of disrespectful and kind of stubborn. You might have a child like that yourself. The second one sounds all too familiar. How many of us have been expecting someone to show up for an event, and they just don't? They might even text you, "I'm on my way. I'm just down the street. I'm looking for a place to park." And then they don't show up. I am always always amazed when people say they're going to do something and then they don't. And then later when you talk about it, they seem surprised that you remembered that they said they would do that thing. Or in their minds, maybe the situation changed, but they didn't tell you that part. Telling someone that you will do something and then failing to do it is an example of not following through. It's an example of lack of commitment. It's an example of not being impeccable with your word. It is not an example of being all in. When we are all in, we don't let anything stop us. If we can't find a place to park, we keep circling until we find a place to park the car. We follow through with our commitments when we are all in. Now, maybe we don't go all in because we're really apathetic about that thing. We don't care about it. When you don't care about something, it's easier to just not show up. When you don't feel committed, you don't feel guilty about not following through. When was the last time you felt passionate about something? Has life kicked you in the teeth so many times that you're struggling to find passion about anything? If only we could have the passion of children. Children are so committed when they want something. They wholeheartedly pursue it. That's the part of being childlike that to me is the most delicious. When we are young, we don't care what we look like. We don't care what people think about us. We don't concern ourselves with logic or image. Would that we all have the passion of these children. Motivator Brandon Stein says, we have it all backwards if we're waiting around for passion to strike us and then to commit to its source. He claims that we have to start with a purpose. This will lead to imagination, determination, creativity, and focus. Having a purpose and commitment to something will lead to passion. So what purpose is going unmet in your life today? What are you longing to do? We all have dreams and ideas floating around. The problem is, the older we get, the better we get at coming up with reasons to not act out on those dreams and ideas and purposes. We have a whole pack of reasons why we can't follow through on the very thing we desperately wanted to do once upon a time in our lives. We undo ourselves before we even get started. And then the dream, the purpose, the plan, and therefore the passion slips away from us. Well, I want us to dust off those dreams and purposes this morning. I want us to look at the beginning of this brand new year with anticipation and excitement. I want us to take this arbitrary landmark of a new year as a true fresh page of a journal, a true clean slate of creativity, and I want us to find something to commit to, something to investigate, a purpose to get behind. I want us to be all in for 2019. Whether it's a card game or a community service, whether it's a project or a new relationship. According to Kevin Hall in his book, Aspire, Discovering Your Purpose Through the Power of Words, all in is a word on the Aztec calendar. When a great storm or earthquake was about to shake the earth, the Aztecs would shout, "All in!" which means you gotta move and act right now with all your heart. Well, that synonym for all in reminds me of one of my favorite stories my former mother-in-law used to tell us about the need for instant obedience in children. One day, when my former husband and his sister were very, very young, his mother was in the living room and heard a crackling sound up above in the ceiling. And the two children were sitting on the couch directly underneath the crackling sound. They were blissfully reading books. She saw the imminent danger and screamed, "Run, kids!" The kids jumped up without a moment's hesitation and ran out of the room. At that moment, the ceiling crashed down onto the couch where they were sitting. She believes she saved their lives by screaming, "Run, kids!" The kids didn't sit back and argue, so she always claimed their instant obedience saved their lives. Now, although the ceiling is not falling in on our heads today, and we don't need to move because of impending danger, I would like us to recognize that there is an urgency for us to get up and move. I think our culture has supported our passivity far too well. It's way too easy to sit back, look at our screens, and leave the action to someone else. What purpose have you been ignoring for years? It's time to take that off the shelf and start doing something about it. All in. You got to move and act right now with all of your heart. It's time to act. It's time to live. Amen.